Hey everyone, this is Cristian Portilla live on Meet Them Mondays. This is Carolina Paredes.
Hello.
We will be talking tonight about the Litas. She's also a digital content creation whiz, marketing genius. She has a lot of brands, but for sure tonight we're going to be talking about the Litas, which is a female motorcycle riding collective. So make sure to stay tuned for the episode on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or just tune in here through the Facebook, okay? Check out later. Cisco, will you count me in so I could start?
Ready?
Yeah, I just want to hear you.
In 3, 2, 1.
Peace world, welcome to Meet Them Mondays, a show about the wins and losses on the road to success. I'm your host, Cristian Portilla, and tonight I'm in the studio with Carolina Paredes, aka Made by Carolina, one of the co-founders of the Litas, the Houston chapter of the Femme Motorcycle Group and digital content and marketing whiz.
Thank you. That's a great intro.
Isn't it? I was like, she does so many things. How am I gonna put this all together? So I actually wanted to talk to you because I took interest in finding more about the subculture of like women who ride motorcycles. So I recently moved here to Houston, and one day I was on the highway and I saw these ladies riding, and that was the first time I had seen that. You know, I didn't see that a lot in Miami. And so it turns out that they're part of a collective called the Twisted Sisters. And so when I was doing research to get a hold of like different groups and stuff like that, someone had told me about the Litas. And according to the website and just research, the Litas is like one of the biggest collectives in the United States.
And in the world.
In the world,
yes.
too. Of like
amazing.
Of women riders. So obviously I looked up, the chapter. I saw that you guys were super active, and you guys are just so badass.
We just like to ride.
Yeah.
And teach other ladies to get out there and stop riding in the back of their dudes and then just go and ride, and experience. There is something spiritual that when you're riding, you cannot put it into words, and you will just look next to the girl or man next to you, but especially with the girls, and you see each other and you just kind of like smirk, and you're like, we're doing this, and we're doing this together. It's like not just me in the way, which is also awesome, but when you're doing with somebody, it's like that magic.
Yeah, for sure. And so I guess I want to start by just letting everyone know that the Litas are a femme motorcycle group that actually started in 2015. The founder is Jessica Wise in Salt Lake City, Utah. Yes. And as you know, it's one of the biggest groups.
Headquarters.
Headquarters, exactly. And so I want to take it back to you and start with your story. Where are you from and what was your childhood like? I know that part of your story is about being an immigrant. And
yes. I was born in Mexico. Lived most of my life there, went to like private school wearing uniforms. I was skateboarding like in the low down because girls didn't skate, and I was hide that skateboard in somebody's house, and we'll just go to the other side of town like riding our bicycles. And there was this kid that had a Vespa, and we'll go into his with his Vespa, carrying this little skateboard all the way to the other town. So that was like some of my first experiences with like motorcycles. And also one of my aunts, she has a ranch, and we'll go into the quads, riding like the 4-wheelers. So I always had like some sort of connection, but not me driving all the time, riding. And where was that? I moved to LA when I was 17 to go to college. And my everything else like keep growing, like the things that I wanted like became more. I right away I was doing internships. I was in a sorority. I'm gonna experience college as college should be. So I was the president of an international club. I was managing the house where we were living. I was living in I went to Loyola Marymount, and Loyola Marymount has this house which is the international house of, we call it the IHOP, International House of People, because it was just like funny people, like there were 4 bedrooms and a single. I had the single, and it was people from everywhere, like Philippines, British. I had these. Where were these kids from? Like Czechoslovakia and like the weirdest places in the world, and we were just mashed together, and we became friends and a family for years. Um, but there was not so much motorcycle. Well, yeah, no, actually, I started hanging out with these models in LA, and they all had like sports bikes, and I would go to the east side and hang out with them, and all of these beautiful Vogue models, hanging around the house. They would go right through the canyons wearing just like bikinis. Like I would not, don't recommend it. That was unsafe. But we just go to the beach like in the morning and stay all day, and then come back and just fall asleep because But we were riding, and at one point I'm kind of like moving forward, but yeah, like stay in LA, got my a sponsor for company. I started working at Sony Pictures. Then I moved to another company. I was doing like a Jim Henson. I did like different things there, and then when my son was born, I went back to like some kind of corporate because I wanted to be there to see him grow. Because I was leaving 5 in the morning, coming back at midnight. We were shooting, and I was not able to be there all the time. So I'm like, I reeled down. I got this corporate job, and perfect schedule, and the boss was amazing. It was finance. He trained me, and we did like a great team. And at that time it still was like I wanted something else. And then in between, he was traveling from Phoenix every week, and at one point he's like, I'm tired, I'm not gonna do it anymore. And I kind of was like, well, if you're not here, I don't want to be here. And in that little process, I did somebody else's Facebook page. It was when it was first beginning, like the business of the digital marketing, and somebody else liked it, and they said, I'll pay you. And that's kind of like my business started, like from like way beginnings, like we beginnings, like 9 years ago of social media. And at that time, I started like meeting people that ride, and I was in the back riding. I remember we're doing the gentleman's ride. It's this yearly ride for prostate awareness, and everybody gets dressed up, and also like suicide. It's about for men's health.
Yeah.
So everybody gets dressed up, very dapper, and they're riding like vintage bikes mostly. And I remember like riding behind my friend, and I was like, next year I'm gonna ride, and I rode. I went to get like my little tiny vintage bike, and I started like learning, and then from there I started like the bike was old, so I needed a lot of work. So I started hanging out at this shop a lot because I was like, well, if it's gonna break down, I want to know what to do. And they started going more and more like asking questions. At one point I'm like, it was Motor Classic Garage, so I'm like, Bob, like, can I come and learn? So I was like cleaning bathrooms, doing whatever, like around the guys, just listening, like literally just like the fly in the wall. And then they started like taking me in, like, let's do troubleshooting, let's do this, what do you hear, can you ride the bike down the street and come back and hear, So I just started like just being there.
Literally building basics, like baby steps.
Yeah, because you want to know how your machine works. There is also this like intricate relationship with you and your machine as you're riding. If something like yesterday, my bike, when I turn it on, it didn't sound right, but I'm like, I think it should be fine. And then when I got to where we were gonna go, like halfway, like it would not stay on because it was like the carburetor was clogged. But I'm like, I knew that I heard something. But it's like that kind of like things that you learn at the shop. So it's like, your senses, the relationship that you make with it. So I started working there, and then I will do their social media. So it was like, I will bring my computer, and like in breaks I will do work for my clients. And then I started working at another shop, a garage company, and then from there I moved to LOSA engineering and actually getting paid to be there and run errands. Sometimes I would clean carburetors.
Something you said that stuck out with me that reminded me of something I heard the other day from someone. They said, learn what you love. Mm-hmm. And that stuck with me so much because that can go for so many things. That can go for your hobby, for me for my podcast, for
Yeah.
you for your motorcycle, you know, your loved ones, like just so many things that applies to. And I think also for you having that knowledge of knowing what happens if your motorcycle breaks down. As a woman, I can imagine going on a long ride somewhere and la moto se te deja por ahí tirar. Like, what are you gonna do?
¿Qué hago?
So, have you had experiences like that where la moto te dejó por ahí tirar
Oh,
on
yeah.
an adventure?
Totally.
And
Yeah.
what did you do? And especially as a
I
woman,
have
I feel
triple
scared.
A. This is not an app.
AAA sponsor.
Please send me money. No, well, even just working at the shop, like I will have guys come in and be like, "What's a little girl doing here?" And
Really?
yes, I helped somebody. I helped my mentor do a whole wiring of one bike, and this beautiful man comes and picks it up. Right? I was like, "Oh, I helped do all of the electrical." And his face, like like his jaw went over there and down, like, how? Like not macho, but it was very like, what?
What do you mean? That's super machismo.
Well, it was more of like impressed, and he
Oh,
didn't
okay.
know and he was like, oh well, thank you, like surprise.
Yeah.
But I had those of like, oh, girls right in the back, or you should not be in a shop, or like the whole culture of like I went to private school all my life and now I'm in like this shop and they're like, why are you doing that? That's not your place. So different, little digs here and there, but it's just like all my life I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, well, I don't care.
You don't give a shit?
Yeah. Well, it's like I'm gonna do what fulfills me
Yeah.
and what feels right for me to be doing in front of me. I'm not mechanic. I know that. But I want to try. At least let me try. Like, I'll see you do it once, and then I'll do it. And I had people that actually be like, yep, you got it. I'm like, yep. And they run with it. And they allow me to have that experience where I can actually know a little bit more,
Yeah. And so, what would you say? Have you always been like this, like that very adventurous spirit of you, and like just kind of like esa rebeldía that you have to you?
I mean, yes, it's ingrained in me. I can't remember this one time I was like 6 years old. My mom was trying to do my hair like in a ponytail, and it was not like tight enough or like how I wanted. And I remember I turned around, I'm like, let me do it. And she's just kind of like, okay. Like I will be doing my breakfast, eggs in the morning. And I remember also like she trying to help me study for a test and saying like, trying to start to, when they say the answer, and I turn around like, you're not gonna be there, so do not tell me. And she just kind of went like, okay. But that's kind of how I've been. It's like I'm a lot of like, I'll do it myself.
Very independent.
Which is also, it's good, but at the same time it's hard to ask for help.
Yeah.
Which is something that I've been learning a lot the last 10 years, well, more than 10 years. Like, hey, I don't know, and I do that a lot. Like, I text or email people that are actual motorcycle builders and mechanics, and I be like, this is what I'm doing, or like carpenters, because I do stuff too in my shop. I'm like, this is what I'm doing. Am I doing it right? Am I doing more than I thought I should be? And they're like, keep going, and then maybe this, and I take everything else, all of the info, and I just go with it,
Yeah.
So it's just who I've been all my life.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
have that. Ese espíritu rebelde in a good way. Yeah.
What was that? Rebelde?
Rebelde. Not dos mujeres un camino.
I know. Just one woman.
Una mujer y un camino.
Una moto.
Coming to y una moto coming to a station.
Sponsor me too.
So tell me about the Litas. How did you find out about them? And can you tell me about? I know you said that you like started writing in LA. So
Mhm.
how did you find out about them? What was that like for you?
I started writing in LA, and I started doing a lot of woman camping events. There's Babes Right Out. I went to the Dream Row, and actually I met Jessica there. Like, it was by passing, and I
Who's
met
Jessica? What do you-
Jessica Weiss. It was just like by passing. Hey, how are you? It
Oh,
was,
the main founder,
yes.
Jessica. Okay.
And then there
Weiss.
was like all of these different women that are like very influential in not just the gram, but in the motorcycle, not industry, but like the community.
Yeah.
And I started meeting people like by writing, but doing a lot of those women focused. Deer Static also. It's more for like deer bikes, but it's for women, led by women. And it's not that we're like, oh, we don't like boys, but it's some sort of magic that happens when the ladies get together and they feel more comfortable asking questions that they not necessarily would ask in a shop with the boys. I don't care. I'm always like, it might sound stupid, but let me ask, because I'd rather know.
Yeah.
But I know for some people they feel intimidated.
Of course.
So if we can be like a channel so that they get the power to go and do it by themselves later on, that's what I'm there for.
Yeah.
So I started riding in LA. I have friends, all kinds of bikes, all kinds of industry, and every weekend we will be riding. And then I started even with my little 350. I just say like if I got like a stock, I was riding with the Litas. We're doing like one like Griffith Park, and my bike overheated and it just died. And Kevin was leading, one of my favorite people. She's the queen. She's the queen of motorcycles.
Yeah.
She's one of my favorite people. And she stayed and she asked me, and I was like, "You have a right to lead. I'm waiting for AAA. Go for it." And then literally when I was like my bike getting to the shop, she texted me, and then I got chills because having somebody not just be like, well, whatever, like reach out and be like, are you okay? And that's when like it literally clicked to me. It's like, this is a sisterhood that I want, like people that inspire me to be more myself.
Yeah.
And to walk through fears, because I was scared, like my little bike, breaking down and like feeling like the, not shame, well kind of like shame because I was making everybody stay behind. And then but then I was like, no, I got this. I had the resources because I've been paying for this AAA to pick me up. I can't wait, go and enjoy it. And then somebody checking on me and be like, are you okay?
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's leadership. That's, somebody that's paving the way for me. And we do that to our girls. Every time we go, even driving or walking or driving, we text each other like, I'm home. Because we want to know that we're all good, that we're like, okay. And then the other, conversations comes from not just writing, but we get this common connection that is motorcycles.
There's a thing about being a woman that a lot of people who are, I should say, not a lot of people, those people who are not women, so anyone out there who is not a woman will never understand what it's like to be a woman and always have like your safety in the back of your head. It's not an exaggeration. It's not something to joke about.
Yep.
Women, we're always with that sense of like protection about ourselves. It's funny because before I was walking, and before I got here, I was walking my dog, and out of nowhere, like this guy like came from like behind a car, and I turned around and I was like,
It's like, whoa.
And I thought to myself, why is my initial like reaction to like kind of give him the stink eye and be like aware, but it's just the woman in me that always has to look out for myself and my safety. And that goes from like when you go out with your girls to the club, when you go out with your girls for a run, when you do whatever you need to do, like there's that sense of like sisterhood, like I gotta make sure these girls are okay.
Yes.
It's just an unspoken feeling that you have to take care of your girls. And so let's talk about the leaders, the Houston chapter, which is the chapter that you pertain to. You're one of the co-founders. Tell me the name of your other co-founders and like tell me about this collective here locally.
One point, a lot of the girls ride with knives to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Vanessa and Aoka, they're my other two co-founders, and they're being so helpful. One of them is from here, I believe, and the other one is from North Missouri, I think. Yeah. And but they've been here longer, so they're like really like helping me. Like I've been here a year and a half from LA, but I was like, hey guys, can I come and join? Because I moved and I had such a great experience with the LA chapter that I was not necessarily riding every single time with them. But every time I was with them, I had like a really good experience, and it was like really well thought of rides and meetups basically. And I was like, I seen a lot of ladies here that when they see me riding, because I've been riding with the Ducati group, the vintage group. There's a group that meets on Thursdays, and it was like these, like I've been experiencing different groups, and another group that were like doing like longer distance rides. And it was great but I'm like was missing like ladies, you know, and also like I don't go to bars, I don't go to, you know, like, and then everything closed, right? When everything closed, it's like, what do I do with myself? How do I even make friends as an adult? Because I don't go to class or something. It's like, hi, let's be friends.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Actually, one of my friends, I told her when I met her, I'm like, we're going to be friends, Celeste. And she was just like, I remember she looked at me like, what? And then we became
but
friends.
you seek out these ways to be like friends with people.
Of course. And like, the writing is a great thing when like how it happened, because we're far apart, we're wearing a mask anyways, and we're just writing, and it was a great thing to just like get out of the funk. I started talking to them, and like I met Vanessa like a year before. The chapter was a little bit more inactive before, and then I was like, no, let's do this. There's a lot of ladies that I've seen that want to ride further and want to get, you know, or they have a bike and then don't go past their alleyway, you know, that they're like, or just their 5-mile radius around their house, and they want to get in the freeway. They want to do that. And I'm like, I seen it. And they were just, yeah, let's do this. So we started meeting every Sunday. We do brunch and we do a ride if there's good weather, but the brunch keeps happening. So it's a way of like, there's a consistency of having a meetup where somebody that might not have a bike but wants to is interested in the culture, and or has one but is not very, always just rides with their boyfriend or their husband, and they're just kind of like scared, or like they said, he goes too fast, and sometimes I feel very uncomfortable, and they're not brave enough. I'm not saying brave, but they sometimes don't want to hurt their feelings. That say like, oh, you're being an ass and you're riding too fast for me. And or they don't ask questions.
They don't want to speak out.
Or because sometimes they like with, you know, romantic relationships, sometimes they might be like, you know, you don't want to bother your partner. I don't know, but you know, I'm very unspoken. I'm like, this, and this happened. But I feel like we've been creating such a beautiful like community. There we had like, we've been doing like beginners drills. We had like, and that happened because we had a meetup, and it was like about 20 girls, and we only 12 of us rode, and the other ones didn't because they were scared of getting the freeway. And we're just like, we need to do something, because we want, at one point we're like, let's go guys, we're going for the whole weekend, we're going to ride like 900 miles one way, 900 miles back, and we're going to explore the world. You know. But you know, it's more than just like getting on the freeway. It's a lot of, I think, a lot of personal milestones that somebody has to keep getting. You know,
like even for people that just start driving a car, getting on the freeway is a big deal for people. And just how many years have you been riding total?
9.
About 9.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I did have a question about the Litas itself. So the Litas don't like calling themselves an MC or motorcycle club.
No.
They call themselves either a group or a collective. What is that?
An MC it has very specific rules. A lot of them, they're like 1%ers, 3%ers, which is an outlaw kind of thing. The main thing of the Litas is we want to ride and we want to empower a woman. It's not about, you know, we're not trafficking something, or we're not Sons of Anarchy kind of thing. And they have their own rules. All of those MCs, they wear patches so that they identify, you know, where they're riding from others. Like we have friends that are MCs. I have a lot of friends, but they have their own politics, and they have like territories. So if one goes to another one without telling the other, MC is kind of like a big thing. With us, it's just like, we just want to ride, and we just want to empower the woman. Yes, there are regulations as of you sign up, and when you sign up, there's so wherever you ride at your own risk, you have to feel comfortable on your bike, and if not, come to those beginner things. You know, because if you're not well prepared, you put everybody at risk.
Absolutely. And so, when was the Houston chapter founded of the Litas here?
I think it was a couple years ago.
Okay, so it's fairly new still.
And at some point they had like a north chapter and then a south, or like at the center. And we just merged everything this last November. Because I talked to them, you know, we all felt that it was very important to bring unity, that have like south and the north. It's like, no, we are one thing, and let's meet up central, so everybody from all of the suburbs are able to get to that one point, and then we ride.
Yeah.
And it's, I feel like it makes more of like community where Houston, not like sugar, different places. Yeah.
And so how many girls are in the collective here in the Houston group?
I was just checking our mailings. We have about 115 people registered in our mailings.
Yeah. And active writers.
Yes, but mostly we get 12 to 15 on a 20 at the max on brunch ride. We had done co-ed rides with like guys.
Yeah.
That was like, it's open to everybody, and we had like 40 bikes with us. But for the most part, it's just 12 to 20, depending on the weekend. If it's a busy weekend.
And I want to get back to like the brunch events in a second.
Yes, of course.
But one thing for the listeners out there is that if they go to the litas.co, we were talking about being a beginner. They actually have on their website something that says that they're rolling out a series called Raise Hell and Ride Days, and that's for women to learn basic motorcycle riding theory as well as riding a motorcycle with like they learn from certified instructors basically. And then the ride is a 2-hour mini course that gives you a coupon for a discount on the full riding course. And so you can, like, also on that same website, if you're listening in another state that doesn't have a Litas chapter, you can actually submit to start your own chapter. So that website is thelitas.co. And so
we have one of our girls, she's in College Station, and she just started another chapter up north, which is the Brazos Valley, and it's College Station and all that area. So we were like, yeah, go for it, because she, like it takes an hour and a half to come and ride.
Yeah.
So
Houston is an hour from Houston.
Yeah, I know.
And so I want to, we always talk about like all of the good things, but all of the good things also have an opposite side. And so I want to talk about how you said like even brunch, because obviously the first thing people think is, okay, we're gonna do like a meetup for brunch, people are drinking, then they're gonna get on a motorcycle. So let's start off with that, because I know you are sober and you actually don't drink alcohol. So how does that work? Like, what do you guys say?
No, we don't drink on our brunches. We try to make it very like family. We even encourage, if you have kids and you can ride, bring your kids to brunch. Cage it, we call it cage it. We're not, if you're gonna drink, that's not a no for us. You can go and drink after the ride, because that's a lot of liability.
Yeah.
And besides of being sober or not, I don't ride with people that are drinking.
Yeah.
That is just a no, because it impairs everything, all of your decisions.
Yeah,
and if you're in a group formation, something happens to you, you're like a little, and you fell down, you're gonna hurt whoever's around you.
Yeah.
Not just yourself, which it will suck. But yeah, we try not to. We don't.
Yeah, you don't condone it. And so speaking of falling down, I want to talk about accidents, deaths, like the I don't want to call it the dark side, but like the things that can happen when you ride. So have you had any accidents or fallen off yourself or tell me about that?
I actually got a crash in Joshua Tree on one of the last Babes ride out in Joshua Tree, and it was just windy. There was gravel, and I did I was doing a curve, and instead of letting go of the throttle, I pressed the brake, and I just went. But and that was more of like driver's error. But when you get in I just cut myself, and all for like a month all bruised, because I hit the handlebars towards me and I messed up the bike. But I didn't hit another car, motorcycle, or anything. It was actually behind me. We had to slow down because it was so windy. It was like really bad. Like I feel like my body moving.
Yeah.
Behind me there was a doctor, and he just like cleaned me, like in a car, and he cleaned me. It's like just
out of coincidence.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
No, I ride with a doctor all the time.
That's funny.
My glam.
How that works, right?
Yeah. But I had met people that either they lost an eye, an arm, you name it, or like their lives, and that's part of either one. I have one of my friends, good friends in LA too. Like in an intersection, somebody passed and ran over him. His leg was all, but he's riding back. It has a lot to do with one, the drivers not being either on their phones and or not being, I don't want to say teach, but taught like to look out for motorcycles. A lot of people like I'm in California, you can lane split and people see you, they open for you. You are doing different. You know, they're more aware of the motorcycles than here. I noticed too, because a lot of people are on their phones, and that's the reality.
Yeah.
And a lot of the accidents that I know my friends is either a curve that we're going too fast or a car hitting them.
I know a story. I actually interviewed her for Meet That Mondays. Her name is Cynthia Fleshman, and so in the express lanes in Miami, a lot of the times people will like cut the poles and drive into the express lanes, and a driver cut the pole and hit her and her friend.
Yeah.
She actually lost her leg because she was riding on her motorcycle. Yeah. And it was because someone cut into the express lane.
Yeah.
And like, you know, out of frustration or sheer ignorance, like one bad decision and you're gonna cost somebody their life or injure them severely. You know,
forever.
Yeah. So I actually wanted to go back to that remark that you made about some of the girls ride with knives.
Yeah.
So do you feel like
the boots in the back to get it out fast? Because I know for me when I'm riding, I have ridden like in LA, passing by Skid Row, you do not stop there at all. Like I coming from the east side from visiting friends, going home because I was at Venice Beach and like I had to go through. You don't stop because they will come and grab your bike or grab you. And it's just because they're some mental stereo. I had cars follow me. Yes, or I'm in my lane and they get in the same lane and start screaming at you. Do you ride? I'm like, no shit. I'm just sitting here and yes. So at certain times you just kind of like try to go to a public space to feel safe. But yeah, I get it all the time. But like the cool things is like when you're riding like the big trucks, they're just like, they do their horn and you're just like, yeah, bro.
Yeah. So is there like more harassment because you're a woman, or like do you find it like when you're with the girls that more people will harass you, or do you think that that's just?
We get both. Like we get like last time a couple of weeks ago we were riding in a car filled with women. They started screaming. I was like, yeah, queen, you guys are the best. And we were like, oh yes,
Yeah.
And then like the next stop, there was another car and all the girls came out and they were twerking and they were like showing us and we're just like, yes, but it was like, yeah, like women, like, but I don't know. I think it's just like.
But do men show you guys the same amount of love too?
Sometimes it's more of like, like they either a sexual innuendo and or what are you even doing? You guys don't know how to ride. So it can go into like derogative either way. Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. When I saw those ladies riding, I was one of those two, like, hell yeah, like, look at these bad bitches.
Honking.
Yeah, because you're like, yo, this is so badass. There's something so dope about just seeing women do, like, really cool shit that you normally, like, really don't see them do,
Yes.
So it's like, it's empowering.
It is. It allows you, there's this thing like, I don't know, the more I ride, the more I feel connected with self, and it allows me to, well, if I do that, why can't I do this? Like doing welding or like cutting wood and like, helping others, and that goes along to like, I love yoga. I used to teach yoga, like, and I can be very like gentle, but at the same time, like I can get rough and cut metal and get dirty, like I think there's some beauty that being on the bike with the wind on your face and just nothing else matters and you're just so present and it's just like it's the coolest thing. It's kind of like surfing too. Like sometimes I feel like when you're surfing you catch the perfect wave and at the end it's a sunset and everybody stops surfing no matter how good the waves are and everybody's looking at the sunset and there's like quiet but you're all looking at the same thing. So it's, I feel like that's one, like I have felt that in both places. You know, you're just like, yes, it's present. You're not thinking where you're gonna eat. You're not thinking what you left home. You're just doing that thing, and you're just, you know. Well, for me, it's also like have 3 exit routes. Be safe, but when you're there, it's like it's all okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I call them this is life moments.
Yes.
Because it's those moments in life where you're just so grateful and so overwhelmed with gratitude that you're alive. That like you really have to stop and thank God, like, wow, God, like, thank you for letting me see another day to be here in this moment.
Yes.
Because you're just so overjoyed, like, to be here experiencing whatever that is.
Yeah,
know?
that you don't need a phone, you don't need like cake, you don't need a dude, you know what I mean? You don't need nothing.
Yeah.
And that you know that at that moment, whatever you have done, you are content and satisfied and you're good.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like that, okay, you know, like I did everything that I needed to do. Like sometimes I'm like, I can die. Like, I know that.
Yeah.
But I'm okay because I know that, you know, my word is my bond. I am who I am, and I don't have to pretend who I am. Like the way that I present myself everywhere, but at the same time, it's like being in that bike. I am responsible for other people, you know, like around me if something happens to me. But it's like that feeling is magic.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I want to talk about your more hands-on type of work. So tell me about Full Throttle Nonprofit, and then I also want to talk about Full Tank.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's talk about Full Throttle first.
So everything closed down. I helped
During
my
the
mom.
pandemic.
Yes, so I moved here before the pandemic to help my sister with my mom's medical care, which I still do once or twice a week. It's hospital. In between there is just checking that she's okay. Like tomorrow she's gonna be in the hospital all day. So it's something that just happened, right? And it happened very
Is she okay?
smoothly. Yeah, you know, like at one point we didn't think she was gonna make it, and now she's here. So that's sometimes when I'm right, I'm like,
Yeah,
thank you
thank
for my
God.
mom. You know,
Yeah.
that I could get to see her.
Yeah.
You know, my son has. You know, we were always living in LA, so now being here, and like he goes and checks on her like once a week,
That's
once a day.
Yeah.
And you know, he will be like, oh, I just check on grandma, or like I'll come and she cooks for him. I'll be like, I guess I don't have to cook dinner.
Yeah.
And she will leave something for me. So it's really beautiful, like to being able to show up for your family, you know.
Yeah.
So I started helping. I was still working, you know, with my 22 clients in LA, but I was able to, because I can take her on the road. So she will be inside doing her tests, doing my work, and then COVID happened. And we're like all in standby, and I'm like, what do I do with myself? I'm used to be 5 in the morning to 2 in the morning, go. So I was like, what do I do with myself? So I started helping. We have real estate, and I became the handy woman in a lot of places, and just fixing holes and like drywalls. And then I was like, well, some of the properties needs grass to be cut. So I'm like, I can either pimp out my bike or buy a lawnmower. So I got the lawnmower. It's a tiny little Craftsman. Started cutting grass. I started we have these 7 acres in Esplendora. And I started cutting the grass, one of our properties. We were trying to rent the front house. There's a mobile home. And I was just doing the front. It was like, it's like an acre. And then, you know, the things were like super high, like to my waist or to my shoulders. And I looked all the way to the back, there's trees. I'm like, I'm gonna cut everything. And I start cutting everything, and it gave me purpose. It brought me my sanity back. Because sometimes I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like, you know, I had money saved, but it was not more that. It's like, how do I feel productive in this world that it has taught me that I had to be busy to feel okay. Mm-hmm. And it really railed me down to like, yes, I started writing more with the girls. Yes, I started building my little shop, Thankful, in my house, because I was trying to find a shop to go and
service.
Yes, yeah. And like to keep learning, but they don't know me because I don't have like that relationship that I have in LA. So it was just some of them were like, no, we don't need you, and I'm like, okay. So I was like, I'm just gonna build my little shop.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna start I have a motorcycle that I can build out. So I start cutting the grass. As I'm cutting the grass, I'm like, I bet we can put like like a small track in here. And I have some friends that are professional flat trackers. Send them pictures, ask them questions. They send me like some
Wait, what's
sketches.
a flat tracker?
So flat track is this oval dirt track, and or it can be also concrete. And they'll go fast, turn left. Go fast, turn left. They don't have front brakes. They have, I think, only back.
It's a type of motorcycle?
It has a twin or a single cylinder. It's usually is, it can be Yamahas or Harleys.
Okay.
It's a specific kind of. Over here they do it with their bikes a lot. But I'm used to like the small Harleys or Yamahas or like smaller, like that specific frame, and that doesn't exist here. There's nothing around here. So I started asking questions, and I started like just cutting grass, cutting trees. Right now the track is already, it's measured, is there. I just left the property with the landscaper. They're helping me like get rid of the grass where the track goes, so that we have only dirt. And I had like a pile like the size of this room of like trees that I cut, and we just like burned them today. So we just built like a big fence on the whole north side. We're gonna do one on the south side in 2 weeks. Yeah. So it's been a lot of work coming into it. Yeah.
But this work that we're talking about is for
the full throttle. Yes. So the whole thing, I'm writing there, and I'm like, I wish I can help. If somebody's feeling like me right now with like not purpose, how come we not help somebody find a purpose with motorcycles? So the whole idea of doing a track that is a nonprofit is do workshops, maybe after school programs, have welding workshops, maybe like riding workshops that people can go and ride, mini bike races on the weekends, just so that people get familiar with like how to ride it, and you don't get like if you fall, you fall, and you don't hurt yourself.
This is almost like a property or like a place where you are basically housing all of these things that you want to do related to motorcycles.
Yes. So it's all like give back through motorcycles. So if somebody, for me, when I got that bike and I started working at my first shop, the touching and grabbing and doing and like then figure out, it opened this whole world for me that I was like, I can do this,
Of course, yeah.
And so I'm like, that can be like, like sometimes I'm like, why do you even go to college?
It's so different when you watch something as opposed to when you could literally sit there and watch something. It is a whole nother world when you're literally there, like doing it yourself with your hands built.
It's different because I'm so used to do computer work. I create marketing plans, SEO. Yes, you can see a result, but it's not so tangible. Like you see it in the screen, and then like not so much like your reach, where how much people click, and then that transform into sales. Great, I love it. But doing something, you weld something, you have a table on your shop. It's so different, like the type of satisfaction and contentment that you get from working with your hands.
And so this shop that you are building with the Full Throttle nonprofit, where will it be located?
It's in Esplendora. So yes.
Okay.
So right now it's just we're finishing getting the place up to part 1 for start like weekends opening, so that eventually I can bring like a container, so I can be coffee or drinks, so people can get like some shade, but also just start having people go and experience there and start creating events and fundraisers. The first event is going to be the Litas camp out that we have in May 21st, 22nd, 23rd. And then, have weekends and bring the kids and let them touch the motorcycle. Hopefully have like engine workshops for kids. Take the grandmas that they always wanted to know how to weld. Come over, anything. Like your boyfriend, he wanted to do some metal shaping. Maybe one day we'll have that.
Yeah.
So I'm just right now building the track. I literally sometimes I'm like, I don't know how it's gonna happen, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah. You're literally like seeing it come to life. And so, tell me about your other project. Are you so
Thankful was more of me saying, hey, building things. I don't know how to do it most of the time. I check YouTube. I ask my builders and my friends, and I'm just doing things. Like I'm just there. I bought me a welder. It's a MIG, and bunch of tools. I got like a lift, and I'm like trying to restore a bike and just trying to build
Bro,
things.
you're such a badass, bro. Do you ever stop to think about the fact that you're literally here, like, being your own mechanic?
I tried to, like
That's
like
so
when the bike
cool.
was not starting. Yes, I was like, thank God I was with a mechanic, and he's like, oh, I think it's this. I was like, yeah, I was hearing this, and I gave like a whole diagnose kind of thing, and he was like, yep. And I was like, okay, so it was rich, and I know that it smelled, but I'm like, is you sure it gets clogged? And he's like, yeah. So like then seeing them, I cleaned carburetors before, but then I just see somebody also like come with a conclusion. I'm like, okay, I was not that off. Or being in a shop and seeing somebody doing the wiring, and then just be thinking he didn't put the ground, and then just be thinking, and then the next day somebody validated me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had to do the rewiring because there was no ground. And I was like, like I saw him and I didn't want to say something because sometimes.
You don't want to offend people.
Well,
like,
emasculate him too.
Yeah.
Like, if it's a dude, sometimes they're like, I know, and he was acting like he knew, and I was like, okay. But now after that, I was like, no, I'm gonna tell them because I don't want them to do the work twice.
Yeah.
And like somebody will tell me, like, I
And
know my
sometimes
wells
you
are
just
not the
gotta pull
best.
people out of their ego.
Yes.
Like, honestly.
And it's more of like, hey, I saw this, and like, and if I'm wrong, correct me, which is fine. I'll take the feedback, but also like. My wells are not the best, and I know that at one point I'm like, am I doing my PSI correctly? And then somebody else is like, no, it's too high, and that I was like, perfect. And I take photos and I show them like, this is what I did, what did I wrong.
So with Take
Yeah.
Full, do you also like service other people's motorcycles or do all that, or
Not
is
really.
it just more
It's
for you?
just me doing my stupid little things. Not stupid, but my little things.
Your projects.
Like right now, I'm gonna build some benches for the track.
Yeah.
So I got a bunch of one of my properties. We took down the fence, and there's a bunch of like tubes. And I'm like, I know what I'm gonna do with those. So
Yeah.
I cut them to. Right now they're all cut already. The cutting, and I'm just gonna do benches.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I'm like, I love repurposing too.
Yeah.
Like my vanity in my room. At one point, there was a leak. It was one of those like weird, not even wood, and I hated it. I was looking for vanities, and I was like, I'm just gonna build mine. And then it's all wood, repurposed wood from like a fence that I took down. It was old and it was beautiful, and I just sanded, painted it, and it's now in my bathroom.
That's so cool. That is, I love the show, I can't remember the name right now, it's slipping my mind, but with Chip and Joanna Gaines, that they're also here from Texas.
Yes,
that they-
Magnolia.
Yes. I love watching shows like that, because it's just so cool to see people like work with their hands or like, restore certain things or like work on old cars, like.
Or like make something out of that you never thought of. There's this girl, Laura Kampf. She's I don't know if she's German or somewhere, but she's somewhere out there. Love her. And she always comes out with like, there was the last thing, it's a bench, public bench, and it was a beautiful place, but it was broken, and she just fixed it.
Yeah.
And then she did like this, like we call it like a grill out of like this container. Like I love her. Like I love that when people are thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
And they just want to create. It's just one of many that they just, or like a lot of the people that I mentor with. They would just see something like, we don't need that tool, or I don't have that tool, let's make it. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
And we would go, they'd know how to mill, and they were like, okay, we have our part. And that would like blow my mind, but it would be like, that's genius.
Yeah.
I want to be like you.
Yeah.
So maybe one day, I'm like, I'm aiming to be the 90-year-old old lady with a huge barn that is a studio garage and just making stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's my dream.
Yeah, for sure, and que se te cumpla. And so, let's talk about the event that we were talking about, the camping event, the first
Yes.
native event that you mentioned earlier. Tell me all about it. How can people who are listening or attend, like, give me the deets.
Of course. So, from my experience in other events, I noticed there was a lack of women's events here. There's some, but I was like, what about Camp Out? Like, and they're like in Houston. There's some, like, there's one happening in, what's his name? Sandoval's K River Camp Out in May, beginning of May. And that's from the Litas of Dallas or Fort Worth? Fort Worth. So they do have their own events and their campouts. I really was trying to not aim or copy, but like having a spot here local where we can just go and have a weekend of like, when like I went to like Jesuit school, like, and they will go for retreats, and then you come back and it's like, I didn't know I like Rosie, and she's my best friend now, because you have that experience and you allow yourself.
Bond.
Yes, and also like because you have that time that you get to talk to her where you're not influenced by everything else outside.
Yeah.
And we started talking, and we're like, let's do something that we can like cater to our girls. If nobody else comes and it's just our girls, who cares? Like, we want,
it's for our girls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we're having a yoga class. We're having workshop of a welding workshop, art, woman performance. So it's more of like female vendors, female oriented everything. Hoping to have a round table, an axe throwing, mini bike races, and just like a party on Saturday. So you arrive on Friday, we have the art show, we just gonna hang out and some music. Next day is the yoga, go for a ride, come for the round table, the workshops, and the races, and then party hardy, and then wake up the next morning, there's no event. It's just coffee, chill out, if you're hangover, you recuperate, and then I know a lot of the ladies are gonna ride back that day. So we're having people from Dallas, Austin, maybe some from Utah.
Where's the camp out taking place?
At the Full Throttle. So I have this space. I'm like, hey, let's just yes, Splendor.
Okay. All right, cool. And then any other events that are happening in the city that the leaders are doing? Like, maybe if someone hears the interview and wants to join the leaders, like, what do they need to do? How does it work?
They can go to our Instagram at the Litas Houston, or our Facebook. If we post every Friday, we post our Sunday ride. Every other week we send a newsletter. We send literally a newsletter as soon as you sign up in the litas.com/Houston. I make sure that in 1 or 2 days you get your welcome email.
Yeah.
There's a welcome email where it says like everything. We add you to this app called Slack, and that's like our messaging board. It's like we have different themes of like general, and girls will be like, oh, look what I did with my nails. It's like that's the things that we'll like talk about as girls.
Yeah.
And then, or like somebody has like either like an event or anything that we just all rally there. We support other groups like the Houston area women writers. And then we seek out for like people that have more experience too. We're like, hey, what do you think? We go to support other groups. But for the most part, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook. If you go to the main website and then sign up for our chapter, you'll get a newsletter every other weekend and a welcome email. And then from that, it's like we just text us, call us, do DM us on that, and then we'll get back to you. Yeah. For the most part, it's like our Sunday brunch ride, and then sometimes we do some things on Saturdays. Like this Saturday, there's a couple of swap meets, but they're not created by us, but we do support. And then like the Durango thing, there's a Durango trip. There is a trip to Oklahoma. There is a trip to probably Sturgis. We're going to Babe Sort Out in October for sure. So we are planning things, and we also like tell our girls, like, if you have a ride or an event that you want to do, tell us and we'll help you make it. Like it's not our group. It's not my group. It's not our guys. It's everybody's group. Yeah. So the main thing is like, if you have an idea, we'll go for it. Yeah. You have a place that you want to go, let's do it. Because it's like, it's not us like, this is what we're gonna do. It's more of like, what do you guys want to do? Yeah. Like your friends.
What do we want to do?
Yeah. Like, what do I do? Like, you want to.
What are we doing this weekend? Yeah.
Exactly. And that's how we like texting. Like, how yes, we help facilitate some things, and yes, we see like, oh, let's do this ride, or somebody comes with something, we go for it.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. And so, how can people stay in touch with you? Where can they follow all of the things that you're doing?
Slide on my DM. I'm just kidding.
No, she's not.
You're cute. I'm just kidding. Single.
I told you she was
terminally single. I don't have time.
What's your personal handle? And
Made by Carolina everywhere. Just more like stupid shit made by Carolina.
Yeah.
This is like my life. Yeah, made by Carolina everywhere. I usually reply more to, if I don't follow you on Instagram, I reply more for like emails.
Yeah.
But that's how you can get to me. You know, my website madebycarolina.com or Graphicos, which is my social media. But there's like links everywhere. Like if you want to buy a hoodie, because for the to support the track. If you want to donate anything, there's links everything in the websites, and there's a contact form that it will like, what do you need help with, and you can just say like this and send me a note.
Yeah.
And if you want to learn how to ride, like send me a DM and send me an email. Like I will get you out. I'll go to your house and be like, come on girl, we're going down the street and come back.
Yeah.
Like I'd seen girls, like some girls came to my shop once and we're trying to figure out some handlebars, but the what she bought was not fitting. But like just seeing them, that encouraged one of the other girls to fix her handlebars, and they left with like, we can do this, and I'm like, yeah, you can. So like those little things, I'll help you change your oil. I know how to do those simple things.
Yeah.
But if I can help you and empower you to then you pass it on to somebody else, I'm all in. Like
Also,
let's help somebody.
That's literally empowerment. Like that's yeah, it is. And is there anything right now that the leaders need from their community? Like, is there an ask that you think that the community could do for you? The Houston community or businesses out there or anything? Like, how can the community of Houston come together for the leaders?
Just come to our events, like if you feel, or if you have a friend that that wants to ride, send them over. I think that and if you have something that you want us to support, we're all about community. That's like our main thing. Like, we'll be there for you, unless we're traveling, but we'll make sure that you need something, we're there. If it's more psycho-related. If it's something else that is kind of out of our range, we'll be like, oh, you can go and take a class. Like there's a lot of the dealerships, they offer classes. There's some, I went to a class in LA when I was starting to ride. I lost the name. But there are people that I later on was riding with, and then they were like amazing people. And then doing their course, like you can get like a better like deals with AAA or like the DMV. You didn't have to take the riding class. So there are things and resources here that maybe we can guide you to go there. We do get a lot of messages of like, hey, how do I start riding? Or and I'm always like, get a bit of bike and start practicing, because it's like everything.
Yeah.
The more I do, the better I get.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a model for life right there.
Everything.
Carolina, thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I hope that this episode encourages more women to go out there and ride and just like,
or whatever they wanted to do. Like, it doesn't have to be necessarily like, I go skate with my son and people are like, what? But it's like, just do whatever fills your soul. And if it's, I know like the whole gender barrier thing sometimes makes it like a taboo, some certain things, but it shouldn't. It should be like, oh, it's not even gender. Like we're not doing the women's events to just like say we don't like the guys, and we're not doing just the women's events just to like, oh, we don't like guys. It's more about, let's give these women safe space to feel comfortable to go and do those rides with them.
yeah,
So that you can enjoy the world.
Yeah.
But so that you have like the tools and you feel safe, and then you can ride there. And if you don't want to go there anymore, stay with us. But we go with, we ride. I hang out at shops all the time. It's not about like we don't like you. It's more of like, let's empower these girls so that they can go and empower somebody else, and it's just like that snowball effect.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being on the
Thank
show
you for
tonight.
having
I
me.
really
It's so
appreciate it. You guys heard from Carolina. Make sure that you also check her out on Instagram, and also support her digital content marketing business, because she's a really great whiz at that. Thank you all for listening to this episode. I'm your host, Cristian Portilla, on IG at Call Her Cristian. If you like what you hear, then share an episode with your friends, or to support the Meet the Mondays mission, hit us up for sponsorships and ads, and please subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, leave us a 5-star review.
Yes,
Bye.
you better.
Peace.
I have a knife. I'm just kidding. I do have a knife.